One of the most commonly used filters when deciding on a new product or service is price, and distance from you is a no-brainer. But today we're going to be discussing why, if money and time are truly important to you, then you cannot afford to be filtering this way. So, stay tuned. Hey there, and thanks for joining me in yet another of these videos created as complementary pieces to the gym paradox, the pros and cons of joining a gym. If you haven't seen that original article, you can head over to the core at dcsfit.com, but I will leave a link in the description below. Keep in mind, it's a very lengthy piece of content and I don't expect anyone to read it all the way from start to finish. But one thing I will point out is it is an organic piece of content and it will be changing all the time, and it already has. Over the last week or so since these videos started going out, I have made adjustments to the content already, and there is more there, or variations there from what I said originally, and I'm hoping that it will be a living, breathing document that people can go back to whenever they need help in their choices when it comes to joining a gym, or whether or not they're in the right gym in the first place, or even if a gym is right for you and what the alternatives might be. That is all covered in that piece of content. While you're down there, hitting that link button or checking out the description, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, it takes 2 seconds, but it would really help me out. And if you could hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content from this channel, and hit the notification bell if you really want to get that information as soon as it goes up. Now today what we're discussing is the search term cheap gyms near me. Now if that's something that you've ever typed into Google, or if it's something that you've asked other people about, do you know any cheap gyms near where I live, or do you know any cheap gyms around here, that kind of thing, then it's something that I would invite you to think about a little more before going down that route. Have a think about this. When you want to join a gym, the first thing that you've done is made an emotional connection to a change within yourself, something that has driven you, that you want to change something about your life to make it better than it currently is. So you might be feeling that you're feeling sluggish, or you're feeling overweight, or you're just feeling down about yourself. You want to do something about it and you've decided to join a gym. That's great. You've made that emotional, impactful connection to yourself and you've decided you want to make a change, a positive one. But the first thing you're doing is putting these filters in place and saying that you want cheap, and you're not willing to travel any level of distance to go to the place that's going to make this impactful change to you. So instantly you're already devaluing what it is that you want to do for yourself. Now, I think one of the reasons that one of these things comes up quite often is because people think that a gym is a gym is a gym. But as we've already discussed in the previous videos, that's not necessarily the case. If you're walking into a place that's going to frustrate you, or it's not going to deliver on the tools that you need at this moment in time, then its value is zero. It doesn't matter how cheap it is, you're just flushing your money and your time away. So why would you want to filter to a level where you might be filtering out the best possible solution for you at this time? So let's just look at that initial part of it, the cheap part of it. Cheap does not mean good value. Cheap means cheap. So just to give a completely off-the-wall scenario, if you were going deep sea diving and you needed a watch, you were going to have to see how long you've got left in your oxygen tank or something like that, and you want a watch to be able to look at and see how long you've been down there for, because you might lose track of time because of how deep down you're going. I don't know, I've never done deep sea diving, I'm just pulling this out of the air as an example. So you want a watch. You could go and buy a £10 Casio watch from your local newsagents or something like that. It tells the time, it is a watch, but it is not fit for purpose, not the purposes that you want to use it for at this given time. It's the same with gyms. They're not all the same. They all have different equipment. They might look very similar, but there might be just nuanced little changes in the equipment, or the layout, or the space, or their model of how many people they allow into the place compared to their floor area. It might be different based on what their emphasis is. If you're looking for somewhere that is going to be allow you to work on your mobility and your posture, and you walk into a powerlifting club, that's not the same. And it's not going to allow you the space to be able to do what it is you want to be able to do at this moment in time. You may want to be doing powerlifting down the line, but until you've got those postural issues sorted, you could just be doing yourself more harm than good. Similarly, if you feel an intimidation factor and you're walking into a place that's incredibly crowded, or everybody is incredibly strong and screaming when they're lifting weights, but you've narrowed it down to only cheap gyms near you, and you get 3 search terms coming up, or 3 results coming up, and all 3 of them are powerlifting or CrossFit style gyms, maybe that is not going to be the right thing for you, but you don't realize that the other ones are out there. Or you find one that actually does look suitable in this crowd of other facilities, and when you go along to it, it just seems like it'll do. But you've missed something that is 5 minutes further up the road, and it's perfect for your needs right now. I'm not saying that price isn't important. Obviously, for many people, money is an issue. Money is something that has to be guarded, or it has to be looked after, because there isn't enough of it to just spend willy-nilly on whatever you want. Some people that is not the case, but for many people that is the case. Now, funnily enough, if you're at that end of the spectrum, you almost can't afford to go on the budget scale of things. It's something where you should actually stretch yourself just that little bit more. Someone who's got plenty of money can afford to be frivolous with it. They could end up spending money to go to a budget gym, but they could also have a personal trainer, they could have a coach, they could have a yoga instructor, they go to a meditation class on a Friday night or something. They could have all of these things, and it's just something that's mixed in there, and they're just chucking money at the wall and seeing what sticks. If money is precious to you and it's something that is really important, making a wise investment is a lot better than making a cheap and frugal investment. Because as we discussed in the last video, making those cheap investments might mean that you're just chucking your money down the toilet. In fact, you might be better because it might be pushing you further back and either causing you problems that you just don't need right now, or it could be causing you injuries because you're doing things wrong, or you're being encouraged to do things in the wrong way, even just by being in an environment where other people are doing things differently than you had set out to do in the first place. So budget or cheap does not always mean good value. Good value is good value. It's as simple as that. But value is based on what you need at any given time. Now, this is something that I keep reiterating in all these videos, but hopefully if I continually put it out there, it will stick eventually. Value is what it means to you at any given time. So it's something that is actually going to help you and aid you at this moment in time. All I'm asking is take that filter out of there. Don't filter your choices based on cheap. Ask all your other questions first, and then based on what's available to you, if you can narrow it down to 2 or 3 options and you can't quite decide between 2 or 3 facilities, then you can bring price into it. And if one of them is significantly cheaper than the other 2, and that's important to you, but you've already evaluated that one of these 3 options is the best option for you, then of course going for the cheaper option was probably the better option for you at that moment in time. Having said that, if you narrow it down and you've got 2 options left to you and they're both unaffordable to you at this moment in time, then it may be that that's just something to strive for. There's something that you just have to look at the rest of your life and think about, well, how important is this in the priority scale right now? Well, you know, if it's going to mean that you're going to have to sacrifice on your food budget, then that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. If your food budget currently consists of spending money on takeaways 2 or 3 nights a week, or going out to the pub on a weekend, or that kind of thing, or when you go to the shops, your basket is full of crisps and packets of biscuits and bars of chocolate and ready-made pizzas and things that are bad for you, then you might find that by trimming that sort of thing down, that's going to help you anyway, and it might free up the money that you need in order to be able to pay for this more appropriate facility. If that's impossible, if you're really living on the budget line and you cannot afford the money to be able to go to this place, then I would suggest that the time that you were using to go to that place might be better invested on trying to source some other form of income that will ultimately allow you to do what it is you need to do in the meantime. Don't sacrifice just for the sake of saving money, because if you buy cheap, you're going to get cheap. It may be that the cheapest one out there is suitable for you at this moment in time, and that's great, but if you've done that evaluation first and then you find out that it's the cheapest place, then you've won a watch. Maybe not a deep sea diver's watch though. When it comes to the distance, the near me part of it, quite often that is it's a strange one to put into Google anyway, because that's implying that you've set up Google in such a way that it knows your location, so it's got the geo-targeting in there already. But now it's going to go based on where are you at that moment in time, and it's just going to do a sort of a radius and just say, well, what is close to you. But it might well be that one of the facilities that it brings up, you have to go up a windy road and it's difficult to get into. It's in some back roads or something, and the access is hard for you to achieve. Whereas there's somewhere else that is on that radius further away, but it's a straight line. That is one possibility. But what I would say is that the reason people would put in near me is because they don't want to be spending an awful lot of time just traveling to the facility. If you travel to somewhere that is appropriate for what you need, and it is the perfect place for you, you found some utopian gym that it was made for you, but it's an extra 10 minutes away. Is it worth the 10 minutes? Well, maybe that depends on how often you were going to go. There could be a facility that's closer to you, and you were intending to go there 4 times a week. Well, if you cut that down to 3 times a week, you've cut down your travel time going to the other place, but you're getting more value out of your time in that other place. You can always spend a little bit longer there each time, so you've cut down your travel time. You can maybe cut it down to twice a week if you were going to go 3 times a week, that kind of thing. If you were going to do any less than that, if you were originally only going to do twice a week, I'd say that this isn't that important to you anyway, or you're really struggling to find the time anyway, and so maybe this isn't for you at this point, and your focus should be on freeing up more time in your week. To use some personal examples, when I owned a gym, in the years that I had it open, most of the people came from within sort of a 10, 15, 20 minute journey time. But there were some members that were coming from very, very far away, and I've certainly had clients over the years who have travelled over an hour to come and do a session that might last somewhere in the region of about an hour, and then they'll travel an hour to go home again, or to go to their place of work, or whatever it was, because they put value in the service that they were getting. If you're getting that level of service, it is worth travelling for. Now, there's going to be an extreme to this. There's going to be a point where there is a cut-off point. If you're saying that the best place for you to go is London and you live in Aberdeen, we've got a problem. You can't travel there frequently enough for it to be anything worthwhile to you. But maybe in that instance, now what you're looking for is, well, the service is there, the people are there that you want to touch base with. And now more than ever, with things like Zoom and Skype and Microsoft Teams and all these things, maybe just being involved with that person and getting the right advice, maybe that's what you need, if that's what you're going for, if it was the advice. If it was the equipment, then, or the space, or the setup, then that's a different situation altogether. Now you're just looking for, well, what is the best that you can make out of the situation you've got? But by limiting it to near me, you're instantly saying that you're not willing to go the extra mile for yourself. There's always a way. And you might find that even if you were trying to save time, it's going to cost you time by going somewhere that's closer to you. As I said in the last video, you could be in a place where you end up queuing for equipment all the time because it is so busy that you end up wasting 45 minutes or so every single time you go to work out. If you do that journey time, you may find that by the time you get there, that the place is quieter. And en route, you could have listened to a podcast, you could have stuck on one of my videos and had a listen to that. You could have listened to an audiobook. These are things that are worthwhile for your journey time if you're getting something out of it. It may just help you relax and get you in the right mindset for your workout, or it could be actually valuable to you because you're learning something new. Maybe you're trying to learn another language or something and you can learn it on the way and you're just getting some downtime. If nothing else, it's a de-stressor depending on the journey. Financial outlay always feels uncomfortable. Losing time always feels uncomfortable, and changing your setup dramatically so that you can fit that time in is always going to feel uncomfortable. But if you're truly committed to making a change, at least make the evaluation. Take out the terms that limit your choices. Take out the terms that are going to filter all down to the lowest common denominator. Explore everything, see what's right for you. If you can't find something that's within your budget, make it something to aspire to. If you can find something and it suits you before you have looked at the price, then it's the perfect place for you. And you knew that before you knew how much it cost. It was always a thing for me when I did run a gym where people would get in touch and the first question they would ask is, how much is a membership? No other questions. That would always frustrate me. And it wouldn't frustrate me because I didn't want to tell people the price. It frustrated me because it's where their head was at the moment. You haven't seen the place, you don't know what it feels like to be here, you don't know what the service is that's on offer, you don't know what the value is to you. All you care about is trying to find the cheapest place. It's not a good starting point. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people fail. They try and find the cheapest route. And it's why all those silly little products and infomercials, the ab belts that give you the electronic pulses in your stomach that are supposed to be the equivalent of doing crunches. So people go and buy them because they think, haha, I'm going to look like the person in the infomercial. I think deep down we all know that that's not the case. But in the moment, it's a cheap investment. And you just hope. You hope that this is going to be the magic bullet that's going to fix everything for you. It's never going to be the case. Do your research, do your evaluations, find things that are suitable for you for the purposes that you set out for in the first place, and then evaluate the cost and see if you can make it work for you. You will get so much more out of it in the long run. And you can always leave, you can always cancel. Again, that's something I discussed in the last video. Look into that and see what the terms are for cancellation. But if it's not working out for you financially, you can always cancel and find something else. But even if you only get the value out of it for a short period of time, maybe that will be the impact that you need to propel you forward with your health and your fitness. I hope that proves useful. In the next video, I'm going to be expanding on this a little bit more with a term that I continually used in all the previous videos up till now, budget gyms. They're becoming so much more prevalent, and I think their existence is worth discussing, their positives and their negatives. So until next time, stay awesome, stay safe, hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.